isn't there? Right, I just saw another thing, news story. I wish I could. Wish I knew how my phone works, so I could just uninstall the news program things that you have on your phone, but it pops up with a load of shite that I'm not remotely interested in because I'm trying to live my life. More distractions. Let's find out what someone else is doing. Good for you. Well done. Good luck with that. Yeah, I hope you do well. Great. How does that affect or impact my life? Not in any way. I see what the latest news story is. Ronnie O'Sullivan. So I'm just talking just to get myself going for the day. Ken, that's what it is. Ken, I didn't expect this to be interesting because just because it's But Ronnie O'Sullivan's return to the heading was something like, Ronnie O'Sullivan is going to risks crushing some female snooker players' dreams if he returns to the sport after a short hiatus. How is it a hiatus? He's not even been out that long, but if he comes back to play this female snooker player, it could risk thingaming in her dreams. Well, that's a bit of a stupid way of looking at it, isn't it? How do you know what's in Ronnie's heart? Maybe Ronnie, the genius that he is, maybe he's actually trying to, maybe he sees it as an opportunity for himself and her, or just her. Maybe he's trying to help her. You ever thought of that? You fucking dick who wrote the article. Maybe he's trying to help her. Duh. I mean, every time I've ever seen Ronnie and tell me, why wouldn't he want to help a female star? Virtue signalling for one thing. Look at me, I'm helping a female star. Woo, I can, because he's bored of being the king, isn't he? So he wants to be the king even more. So what better way to inflate his king status than to help a female? Great. So that's the side of the story that we need to focus on. He's actually helping someone, because what a great opportunity for an aspiring, or I don't follow the sport, but a good female snooker player who could potentially beat the former, or the Ronnie O'Sullivan. So how would that help her? Be really quite good. You can't fail, She can't fail, because even if she doesn't beat him, just the publicity in and of itself will help her. So whoever wrote that article is a fucking moron. Probably a failed snooker player, isn't it? It's a bit like, it was funny when Bradley Wiggins was saying, he was talking about drug cheating and all that kind of thing, and he was talking about talking about the drug issue at the interview at the Oxford Union, and he said, when speaking of former ex-pro, what's his name? Former ex-pro, I forget his name, Paul Kimmage, who was a failed ex-pro, who then became a critic, a reporter, a news person, then who would criticise the pros for their alleged drug use. And Brad said, well, Paul Kimmage took drugs and he was still shit. There's a bit of truth in that. Let's explore that. I was having a conversation on the way down about this. I was saying, we put on the Lance Armstrong documentary. It's really quite interesting, right? The point about the Lance Armstrong affair, when he took drugs and he became the scapegoat because he was the figurehead for the whole thing, and he became the scapegoat for the entire sport, which was absolutely ridiculous, because they were all doing it, and that's the point. They were all doing it. And my point was, if anyone had actually read any of the books written by the people involved, they would learn that taking drugs was just part of the course, and if you were good enough to be initiated to that level to then take the drug, you see what I mean? The drugs was at a good amateur, really good professional world level. Oh right, join the continental team. You join the team, and then you prove that you're doing well, and then the coach comes in your room and says, or the Swan Year, the coach, the trainer, every team of people, don't they? And the person comes in the room and says, oh, that was really amazing how you fucking suffered in that ride. That was really quite incredible. You're really good. I can spot talent in you. You're really good. Do you want to take this wee red pill? It's kind of like a Matrix, isn't it? Or like the Bible, isn't it? Take the red pill. Do you want to go this way or that way? It's kind of like that's been initiated. If anything, see what I'm trying to say. The impressionistic picture. It's not really impressionistic. Try to show you the picture, right? If you took drugs, you were good. Duh. You got to that next level where you're good enough to be in a continental team, right? So they're all doing it, right? You're good enough. You're gonna stay, boy. You're really good. You're in the team for a year, or whatever the contract is, and then they're like, I think we'll keep you. You're really fucking good. Do you want to take this red pill? So the drug thing isn't. The impression people have of drugs in sport is like, oh, you cheated. Well, in the cycling sport, if you took drugs, it's not that you were no good enough. It's that you were good enough. You see, everyone's turning its head. It's all an illusion, Unless you're in that world, how do you know what's going on? So it was good enough. You're good enough to play with these big men, so we're giving you the drugs so that you can then, see. And to quote Lance Armstrong, the truth's a shade of grey, isn't it? Who were the cheats? The authorities or the people who actually cheated? I think it's more the authorities who put them in that position that created that situation where they didn't police it, like the Wild West, where you had to take drugs just to compete on an even play, to compete with them. To quote Lance Armstrong, he said, "We went to the gunfight. They had guns and I had a knife. So what are you going to do? You're gonna get the gun to compete on an even compete on that even level playing field, or are you going to take your wee knife and run home and then have everyone say that you're an utter failure and you're shit and you weren't good enough when actually to compete at that level?" Can you see how, if you're in that position, you would have taken drugs? I said I would have done the same thing. I would have taken drugs because the whole system was corrupt. So the cheats were the baddies were the authorities that didn't police it, not the people that were the athletes who you could say quite strongly, arguably, I would say arguably with a small a, you could say that the people who competed that were there were the victims of. So you know what I mean. So would you, if you, and to further my point even further, Lance Armstrong was already good. He was competing in triathlons when he was a teenager, and he used to beat all the seniors, beating seniors as a teenager. That's how they knew he had talent. So he was good enough. So he didn't. The only reason he needed to cheat was because they're all doing it. He was good enough. So then, if they're all doing it, I'm not saying it was right, but if they're all doing it, then it cancels itself out, and we're all even. So that's the way that was. So you know what I mean. If I just to reiterate, I'd worked my absolute behind off, get to that position. You're on the continent, in that situation where drugs were prevalent. Would you take them, or would you tuck tail and run home and look like a complete failure when actually you were the real deal and this was a chance of a lifetime to live the dream? But anyway, I don't know how I got into that subject, but you can't.